Buongiorno a tutti. Io apro un po' in italiano, poi scambio in inglese perché, perché voglio, ma anche, sai, questa cosa è iniziato dall'ambasciata. Sandy mi ha detto che è meglio che si parlo in inglese per questa ragione, ma per me è un grande piacere per darvi un benvenuto all'apertura di questo bootcamp e vi ringrazio sentitamente per la vostra partecipazione. Ehm, Credo che alcuni di voi abbiano già partecipato negli altri eventi che sono svolti nell'ambito del forum dell'altro anno. Prima di tutto vorrei ringraziare i collaboratori e gli sponsor, in molto particolare il professor Galli e il museo che ci ospita. È un museo che dimostra apertura ed interesse per il tema di economia digitale e dove al momento è in corso una mostra sul grande genio che sia stato Steve Jobs. I'm going to switch into English. As some of you know or may know, I was once in your shoes as a young entrepreneur, and so I know how difficult the process is, and I sort of want to say, I'm totally enthusiastic about the effort that you're all making to try to get things going, not just here in Italy where it's a little bit hard, but just get things going out of creating something out of nothing. And, the entrepreneurial effort, the entrepreneurial process is always difficult and most of the time rewarding. This is an entrepreneurial effort to try to bring, I use my platform as the ambassador of the United States to try to bring awareness and try to help Italy become more aware, more engaged. The authorities in Italy and importantly the young people in Italy more engaged in making the digital agenda and the digital, in particular, inspiring the digital economy. It hasn't been easy. We'll keep working on it. And so there's all, entrepreneurialism comes in all forms. The other thing I wanted to say was that, one of the reasons I'm here as ambassador, that is, I've had a long, career as an entrepreneur in a number of different efforts, is that my brother-in-law is Senator Kerry. And in 2004, I had the opportunity to try to bring the internet world to the political world. And at that time, it may sound strange to you, but America didn't understand the connection between those two things. And so we and I created a team of people that actually it made a huge difference in Senator Kerry's campaign. We raised $200 million. We began to learn how to communicate and use the internet to communicate. I know this all sounds sort of funny. It was 12 years or 8 years ago, or whatever it was, but it was another form of entrepreneurial activity, which frankly changed politics in the United States forever. Because then I had an opportunity to help President Obama. And the one difference, which is sort of interesting, and it may apply to Italy, is that the Kerry campaign, no matter how involved I was, all the sort of known powers that be didn't believe that the internet was going to have an effect. In fact, I had a campaign manager who said, there was a campaign manager who said, "Oh, there's not one vote on the internet," believe it or not. And I thought that was, even then, I thought that was a very incredible statement. And then what happened was that, so it was impossible to give the emphasis to the internet team that it needed. In other words, to be put right in the middle of the campaign. So we sort of sat off in the side and kind of tried to nudge the campaign into awareness of how this was going to work. Now, we did raise $200 million, and suddenly the lights were going off in the campaign. Maybe this is the thing to use. But then what happened is, of course, President Obama understood the thing to do was to put it right in the middle of the campaign and direct all campaign activity around digital internet activity. And of course, the result, we all know what happened. But it takes time. I think that's what, just using that little anecdote to say it takes time. We're pushing the Italian authorities, trying government, people that can help make change to understand the importance of this. The encouraging thing is that now the Monti government, I think, and certain people in the Monti government really understand the importance of what we're trying to do here. Just a few more comments. That my focus now is more, because I'm still quite actively investing in small startup, is to identify young companies which would benefit from investment. But it's risky, and in doing that, as you all know, I've been associated with a venture capital company called Greylock. We expect to say invest in 10 companies. 2 of them we expect, if we're halfway decent at selecting what we're trying to do, will soar and will be and will succeed mightily. 4 will kind of just make it, and 4 will fail. And that is the nature of risk and the nature of the process. Most of you know this, and we live with that kind of stress and risk all the time. But risk-taking is an essential part of developing a robust ecosystem, which is really important to try to create in this country. It's often hard to predict the next big trend, and so it's important to invest broadly and sometime in ideas that might seem a little crazy, but there's no reward, as you all know, without risk. I applaud, as I said before, all of you for the courage to strike out on your own, create your own future. In Italy, youth employment stands at 30%. And the young people are the people who are going to drive this effort. And 19% of university graduates in Italy are unable to find a job in the first year. But you represent the best way of tackling that problem. You create your own jobs, you contribute to the growth of the economy, and you're building jobs for others. The digital economy, as you know, is one of the strongest drivers of growth, especially in the U.S. Tech startups, some of which have grown to become some of the largest companies in the world, account for much of that growth. People have asked me also what makes Silicon Valley work so well, and is it possible to create another Silicon Valley? So the first question, Valley became what it was because of a unique set of circumstances that created a dynamic ecosystem, which I've mentioned before. Close relationships between universities, a local semiconductor and aerospace industries, a culture of knowledge sharing, a flow of talented PhDs from around the world, and of course, a substantial amount of money. To the second question, can you create another Silicon Valley? I think our speakers from New York might say you might want to create a Silicon, why would you want to create a Silicon Valley when you can have Silicon Alley? And it's very interesting. The truth is there are many exciting tech startup ecosystems developing around the world, each in a unique way, and each taking advantage of adapting to local conditions. Now I speak of London, I speak of New York City, I speak of Singapore, Berlin, Pune in India. All are incredibly different cities with different cultures, yet each one has developed or is developing a strong tech and entrepreneurial culture. In the U.S., Boston has become a hub for startups in both the ICT and biotech fields. taking advantage of, and by the way, Boston is where I come from, research coming out of the city's many universities. I think they're in Boston. We have 17 universities all in that one area. And during the economic crisis, a lot of New Yorkers with expertise in certain verticals, media, fashion, food design, decided to transfer their knowledge to the startup world, creating opportunity out of crisis. I'm sure you've heard of South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. In one of the best-known, it's one of the best-known festivals for digerati in the United States. In a state that gets a large percentage of its income from oil and gas, no one could have predicted that Austin would become a startup hub. Here in Italy, you have the necessary elements to create a strong ecosystem. A robust ecosystem is critical to enabling startups to scale quickly and effectively. You have the talent, you have plenty of technical and creative talent, great UX designers, excellent engineering schools, and the angel and VC community here is growing, which is great. But much of Italy, individual wealth is untapped and could be invested in startups. You have some of the most creative and entrepreneurial business people in the world who have overcome bureaucratic obstacles to build thriving businesses. Seek them out, ask them to be your mentors, your advisors, and maybe even your investors. Fortunately, you have also now ministers here in this new government, as I mentioned, who are interested in Italy's youth and very supportive of entrepreneurship and the digital agenda. I have spoken personally with Minister Profumo of Education and Minister Passera of Economic Development, both of whom enthusiastically expressed an interest in this area. And I understand that just this morning, Governor Formigoni here in Milan is going to holding a press conference announcing a digital agenda for the Lombardia region. So, you know, there's stuff happening. The other point I want to make is that many of the most dynamic hubs of entrepreneurship in the world have been created from the bottom up. Don't wait for government. The private sector can both lead the way and work with local and national governments to create regulations favorable to new enterprises. Fixed broadband may not be as widespread as you would like, but there are 60 mobile broadband subscriptions for every 100 inhabitants in Italy. Tap into that broadband to deliver your services and those platforms. I can't stress enough the importance of networking and sharing ideas among yourselves. I remember this networking concept. I remember last year, just to show you what we've had to do to get this going, last year's conference in Venice, one of the main comments that came back to me was, I've never networked before. It's so exciting to be able to network with people. I, of course, was a little surprised at that, thinking I thought everybody networked in the world, but apparently it's not that easy to do here in Italy. One of the main reasons for this event is to network. There'll be a lunch, as you know, but talk to the person sitting next to you, reach out to the people around. You'll see all these speakers today. Get their cards, push to get connected, emails and things like that, because that's the way startup teams are made, through kind of chance encounters with right people, toss ideas around, a cup of coffee, or while at university together, or at meetings like this. Of course, the business world has changed since I began my entrepreneurial activity. Pace of change is incredible in the tech space. It seems that a new icon appears on my favorite website every day. While I do like to link and Skype, I don't yet tumble or stumble or check in or pin. And who knows what else I'm not doing, but maybe someday. And hopefully it'll be one of you to create the next icon that pops up on my screen. I'll leave you with one thought, I'll read it, from the science fiction writer William Gibson. The future is already here, It's just not very evenly distributed. So it's your job to distribute it a little better. Thank you, and now I'd like to invite Cristina Tagliani, Councilwoman for Research, Innovation, and Economic Development from the City of Milan, to say a few words. Grazie.